kira ce mallan za ka zo ce da ce to zan mika shi ce da muka magana ce bai da lafiya a ji a ce ce
to have different occupations.
I am actually going to put a
Development Research and Training, Ceddert. We start an event like this by committing it in the hands of the Almighty. Therefore, I will invite somebody to come and give us an opening prayer to look at our program of events. Please, can anybody volunteer to come and give us the opening prayer? Anybody? Professor. Opening prayer.
We pray to Allah to help us to conduct this program successfully, and also pray for self back home to all the participants.
Thank you for the opening prayer. If you look at the agenda, the program of events, the next item we are moving on to is to introduce the invited guests to the high table. And I think there are a couple of them. I want to start by inviting the chairman of the occasion to the high table, the director of Arewa House, who is also on the project, person of Professor Idris Jumada Shawa. A round of applause for him. Next to be invited to the high table is the representative of Ceddert, the project we are monitoring for dissemination. The project whose activities are going to be disseminated today. The person of Mrs. Esther, officer at Ceddert. A round of applause for that. Let me also invite to the high table Mrs. Roma Vietnam. She's also on the project. A round of applause. She's on Ceddert. I'll also invite to the high table one of the facilitators of the program. Who is that? Sorry, the representative of MacArthur under the Community Life project, in person of the brother Simon. The brother Simon to the high table, please. Is he here? Mr. And then the coordinator or facilitator of the project, the person of Professor Mahmoud Masood Umar of Ceddert. Okay, I think for now we are still expecting the representative of MacArthur to explain as comes in the next participants of the program. Is there and then stand up for recognition, please. So thank you for being here, raising the occasion with us. Okay. Without wasting much time, I will invite Professor Muhammad Mustafa Gwadede of Ceddert to give the opening remarks for this program. Thank you, Professor Mustafa Gwadede.
I want to start by welcoming all of you to this occasion, an important occasion, which is about the dissemination of what we did, one kind of SUBEB project. This important activity we're reporting today is a product of the effort by Kaduna State to be part of those states in Nigeria that have engaged in the counterfunding of education, which is part of the big project. It is important to understand that a number of states in the country are yet to be taking part in this kind of counterfunding. And that is one important reason why we feel Kaduna State has tried in partaking in this effort. Ceddert did a lot to reach out to the respective schools and the respective local governments to find out what really happened. This is what we are going to report today before the larger audience, before the community, for people to see what happened, to understand what happened. It is essentially to bring to the understanding of the communities that these projects are meant for us, and we are therefore expected to be part and parcel of seeing that the project are being executed. The idea here is to tell us what happened and also mobilize us to understand that it is important whenever such projects are being executed in all communities for us to be part of this community, but making sure that it takes place. We are making sure that what is executed is something good enough to be of importance to us, to our schools. One other thing is that we must understand that education is very important, especially at this lower level. So we must therefore make sure that we play our role in ensuring that programs to do with that are executed for the benefit of our communities. This is essentially what this meeting is all about, to now inform the larger community what happened, and also to organize the larger community to understand that we must be part and parcel of what is happening if we want things to work the way they're supposed to work. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
While Professor Mustafa the director of Ceddert came in, and we want to invite him to present it. Okay. But while the director of Ceddert came in, President Dr. Abubakar Ceddert Mohammed, a round of applause for him. Okay. Without this slide, we will take the presentation, the actual presentation of the report, dissemination report of the project given by the facilitator of the program, Professor Masud Oman. We should be very attentive so that at the end of it, we can actively participate. Professor Masud, please.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we've had some technical glitches and finally it seems we've been able to rectify the problem. I can see the people on the high table have disappeared. Please. Mustafa mentioned, this is about the monitoring of UBEC projects in 3 local governments in Kaduna State. That's Tabon, Iwa, and Kaduna. We at Ceddert were mandated by other foundations, other NGOs to take part in this program. So this program is under the auspices of MacArthur Foundation. They supported us to do this work. So what we are reporting was also due to the support of our husband. Now, like I mentioned, Ceddert was assigned to monitor the 3 local government areas, Sabong, Niwa, and Ceddert. And this is the way we organize the reports. There is the aim and objectives. We have the methodology of data collection, and we have the data presentation and analysis, after which we make recommendations and drew some conclusions. Initially, we scrutinized projects for the year 2014. And within each of these 3 local government areas, the schools monitored were based on the superb work plan for 2014. Our work involved all of the schools where projects were assigned for the year 2014. In total, we monitored, or we took a sample of 11 schools in the 3 local government areas. Invariably, you know that we can't go to all the local government areas in all the schools in all the local government areas. We wouldn't have been able to. So the sample of each of the local government areas taken. Now, the immediate goal for the project is to establish a sustainable system of monitoring superb projects through the establishment of sustainable community-based monitoring structures. The core of our activities to bring about this monitoring should be community-based, so that once we leave, once there's no longer NGO support, once MacArthur Foundation does no longer come in, communities themselves should be able to sustain the monitoring aspect, because it is part and parcel of their development of education. So, and the other objective tied to this is to reduce corruption and promote accountability in the implementation of projects in the education sector. Well, without the reduction of corruption, without transparency, all the funded projects will amount to nothing. Quality education will not be possible. School structures, furniture, and what have you will not attain the purpose for which they were acquired. So, with this in mind, the monitoring teams we had were mandated to establish from UBEC the funds and materials which were released to Kaduna State Super and the purpose for which they were intended. Secondly, to establish the counterpart funds budgeted by the Kaduna State government for education, specifically with regards to primary and junior secondary schools and the purpose for which those funds were budgeted. Also, to inquire from Superb office in Kaduna how the funds obtained from UBEC and the state government were expended. We also to examine the procedure for awarding contracts for the projects, whether due process was followed. We also had to produce a training manual to train the trainers for the workshop, train the trainers workshop for our research assistants, in order to familiarize them with the monitoring process. And we had to also analyze the data collected and write a report for our MacArthur Foundation. And we also had to share the findings with the UBEC headquarters in Abuja, Suburb, and the Kaduna State government, and also to disseminate the outcome of the project through radio and television programs, which is one of the things that we are trying to do now. Now, how did we go about this? That is the methodology. How did we do that? We used a range of data collection methods, both qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative, of course, involves a lot of figures. Qualitative involves a lot of analysis based on the data that we have collected. And these include collection of secondary information. Secondary information means information we can get from books, from documents, and bills of quantities, and so on and so forth, from UBEC headquarters in Abuja and Superb office in Kaduna. We had to also engage in familiarization visits to the schools directly to observe and note the conditions of those schools, as well as to introduce ourselves to the school authorities. This is how we went about it. We also had extensive non-structured discussions with stakeholders from the various communities in which the schools were situated, and most of them are here, to hear their views on the problems we were facing, and also to document their suggestions as to what might be done to remedy the situation. These discussions were carried out during 3 sensitization workshops with community members and subsequent meetings with the communities and at Ceddert. It was very, very useful, insightful. Members came, they were so passionate, they gave their views, talked about problems which were on the ground, talked about how they feel we should go about resolving these things, and talked about how they wanted us to support them in order to bring qualitative education to the communities. Now, we also have to administer open-ended questionnaire to workshop participants at the point to assess their comprehension of the discussions. And we also documented group discussions through and the physical condition of the schools through photographs and video filming. These serve as a visual record of the various aspects of the project. Quantitative data is presented in tabular form with statistical analysis to illustrate what was done. Now, as said earlier, the first thing was to engage in the sensitization workshops organized by Ceddert. The first objective was to sensitize all the stakeholders about the importance of monitoring survey projects and its benefits to the target communities. In this regard, stakeholders were informed about the overall objectives of the project. That is to ensure that infrastructure provided through survey projects in terms of classroom blocks, furniture, laboratories, teaching materials were of good qualities as specified in the bill of quantities. The second objective was to familiarize Ceddert with the stakeholders and other members of the target communities to ensure that we get the necessary cooperation for our visits. The training workshop for stakeholders held from 2nd to 3rd August 2018. And a very important observation during the workshop was that target communities do not even know the terms and conditions of the contract awards. They don't know. They are the target communities. They are supposed to benefit, but they don't even know the terms and conditions. Oftentimes, there is no interaction with the contractors at all. Sometimes they don't even know the contractors. Contract awards are done without inputs from the affected communities. You give a contract to implement a project in the community without any input from the members of the community. You are planning for them without even their input. You don't even know what is important for them. In addition, stakeholders do not have even access to the bill of quantities. Moreover, there is no system in place to check substandard work. There is no mechanism. If a contractor comes and does anything, he goes away. The community does not have any means of checking him. No mechanism. So these loopholes in contract awards mean that contractors will get paid for substandard or shoddy work. These are some of the observations which came out. Now the workshops also had some impact on the participants. They are perceptives about monitoring. Initially, people were so lukewarm that since we are not engaged, since we are not involved, it's not our business. Even though it's in our communities, we are not involved. They do those things from Kaduna and then send down the contractors, and then that is all. But at the end of the workshop, the attitude of participants towards the work project changed from this nonchalance to keen interest because of their views and suggestions. Like I said, the nonchalance or the non-interest in the work was due to the fact that they had no avenue to channel their complaints. Communities they didn't know where to take their complaints to if a contractor is doing a shoddy job and other malpractices such as corruption in the education sector. Some of the views of the stakeholders at the workshop was that stakeholders should have a say. Stakeholders should have a say in the award of contract for school projects. This can check fraudulent practices in project implementation. If stakeholders have a say as to how projects are awarded, for example, if a contractor comes and does shoddy job, stakeholders should have a say whether he should be paid or not. And the next time, they should be able to know that this man doesn't do what he's supposed to do, so don't give him any contract again. So they should have a say in how these things are done. And as an additional measure to check corruption and ensure that the best materials are procured for use in civil projects, contractors should be mandated to make the bill of quantities accessible to stakeholders. Communities should have knowledge of the bill of quantities. What is specified in there? At least members of the SBMCs and then some leaders should know what is the specification, what type of materials are you supposed to use, so that you should bring materials which are not in compliance with what is in the bill of quantities. They could have the right to reject it because the projects are for them in those communities. So there should be a mechanism in place to report contractors who default, to report contractors who do not do what they are supposed to do. These are some of the suggestions of the stakeholders when we held the workshop. And they also suggested that we should provide a hotline dedicated to reporting corruption and fraudulent practices by contractors during project implementation. Now, we also, after the workshop, we also had separate meetings with all the stakeholders in the 3 local government areas. Sabon, Gerengiwa, and Kagako. Members of the stakeholders included school-based management committees, headmasters, members of PTAs, traditional rulers, religious leaders, some select elders from the communities, some youths, and a few women. In all the 3 LGAs, stakeholders spoke about the terrible conditions in the schools, contractors' attitudes, lack of information about SUBEB-funded projects. Now, in all the 3 LGAs, stakeholders were informed that even though there are problems in terms of non-involvement of communities in project implementation, there was a need for them to engage actively. Because staying aloof will not solve the problem. There was a need for them to engage actively in ensuring that contract awards for refurbishing of schools were executed according to specification in the bill of quantities. Because in the long run, these projects belong to the communities. One of the most significant outcomes of the meetings with stakeholders was that, along with the workshops held with stakeholders that they brought to the fore that there are many committed individuals in these communities who wanted the situations in their schools to change for the better, but they were extremely frustrated by the way interventions were carried out. Individuals in the communities want to see a change, they want to see quality projects, but then they are frustrated because of the way things are done. Stakeholders do not have any information about details of contracts awarded, and they do not have any oversight function in the implementation of SUBEB projects. So Ceddert in this regard had to enlighten the stakeholders about their rights and responsibilities in ensuring that funds channeled for refurbishing of the schools are properly utilized. Stakeholders mainly had no idea that the school-based management committees would write directly to SUBEB requesting for interventions in refurbishing the schools. SBMCs have the right, but a whole lot of them did not know. They had no idea. They were also not aware that they would request for information about the contractor, the conditions of the contract, and other details of the contract implementation. The SBMCs have the right to do that. So they were enlightened, they were told that this was the right, they could do that, request for information about the contractor, conditions of the contract, and so on and so forth. And Ceddert pointed out to them that as stakeholders, they should be increasingly involved in monitoring the activities of contractors in refurbishing the schools. The community sensitization meetings form the backdrop of the subsequent inspection visits to all of the schools in all the local government areas. The sensitization visits also paved the way, allowed us for stakeholders to freely participate in the monitoring of the process along with Ceddert staff. We were able to get some of the community members, stakeholders, to be with us as we went to the communities to monitor. And they also gave us useful information about the way projects will be implemented. So this is the executive summary of the projects monitored in the 3 local government areas, as you can see on the board here. For Kagako local government, for 2014, they had 60,941,979.66 naira. Out of this, the fund utilized out of the 60,000 was 29,563,689.27 naira. The unutilized fund is 31,378,290.39 naira. For Sabon Berry local government, the project fund was 125,230,224 naira 26 kobo. The fund utilized was 104,609,135 naira 38. And the fund unutilized is 20,621,148 naira 88. And for Giwa local government, the fund utilized, the project fund was 90,454,268 naira 15. And the fund utilized was 84,233,218.15. And the fund unutilized is 6,221,050 naira. For the 3 LGAs in total, the fund for project fund for 2014 was 276,626,532 naira. And for the fund utilized for all the 3 is 218,406,042 naira 84. And for the fund unutilized is 58,220,489 naira. Now, when we say fund unutilized, what do you understand by that? Okay. Because if these monies have been paid, if these monies are supposed to be utilized, and these are the utilized ones and unutilized, the unutilized ones have actually leaked somewhere. It has leaked somewhere. It means these are as a result of corruption in the system. 58 million has gone, unaccounted for out of 276 million. It has gone into private pockets. Or maybe you can say maybe EY is a little bit, 46 million. So this is the percentage of the utilized funds. The percentage. The fund utilized in the document was 48.5%. The utilized is 51.5%. I mean, 51% of the fund has gone down the drain, has gone in private pockets. That was very 83.5% and 60% have gone in private pockets. Somewhere, for Iwa, 93.1% and 6.9%. So this is the percentage utilized in fire chart. You can see that the utilization is low. Somewhere is a bit higher. Iwa is at 3%, as you can see on the report. Now, if this gives you a graphic which shows why monitoring of these projects are very, very important for the community. If you were engaged in the way those contracts are awarded, you know the schools which are bad, you know contractors who will do good work. If they seek for your inputs, then you can make those contractors. Ensure that they bring quality materials to do the work. And ensure that before they get paid, community service say how they are paid. That is one is, even if they are talking, if they reduce greatly, and you have quality schools in the local. But because communities are not involved, this is the growth of what is happening. So, this is what we have so far been able to find out for what we have done so far. Now, but to what extent can we say that the project goals have been accomplished? We have carried out our scheduled duties and found out the growth to be generally satisfactory based on our original objectives. We found out that, materials which are sometimes I will show you pictures later, which were used, funds which have been stolen, funds which have been utilized. So, for a large extent, this is what we set out to do, and this is what we have been able to do. We've been able to sensitize communities. We've been able to make them aware that they also have a say, that they can even write to Supreme requesting for interventions here and there. So, among others, the following outcomes were achieved. Collection of records of state appropriation, we have been able to do that, and Supreme work plans for 2014, 15, and 16. Collection of rebate work plan for implementation program for Kaduna State 2014, 15, and 16. Engagement of technical monitoring team responsible for supervision and evaluation of reports from monitors. We have also conducted a trainers workshop for our research assistants. Also, we've held a workshop for community monitors. We also developed monitoring instrument to evaluate the extent of project implementation with regard to school infrastructure and instructional materials. We are also completion and submission of findings and recommendation on monitoring and inspection of schools. We've completed that. And dissemination workshop involving all the stakeholders, UBEC and support personnel, local government, print and mutual media, in order to share our findings, which we are doing right now. This is the last component of the project. Now, given all these findings that we have, what we say can be the policy implications of this funded activities to date? How do we advocate for better, mechanisms in order to stem the tide of, shoddy work, bad materials, a lot of money being filtered away, and so on and so forth. So there are policy changes required in order to attain the goals of the project. Since our main goal is to ensure that quality education is brought to the fore, is implemented, and corruption is reduced. Now, one, the procedure for awarding of contracts should be based on needs assessment carried out by Ceddert, together with other relevant members of the community, SBMCs, PTA sector. Because you cannot just sit in your offices and then say this is what the communities need. You want to engage in politics, you want to renovate school infrastructure, you want to bring in quality materials, school teaching aids and so on. You have to go involve the members of the community, SBMCs, PTAs, and then what have you? Let them be involved. Needs assessment. Look at the committee. They should tell you what they need. What are the conditions in those schools? Prioritize them before you even award contracts for them. So needs assessment should be carried out by Ceddert. Very, very important with relevant members of the community. Secondly, community members should have a major input in determining what interventions need to be funded. What kind of fund, what schools, what kind of project do you need to fund in the various communities as regards education? Community members know. They know what is happening. And once contracts are awarded, the details of the contract, including the scale of the work, the quality of the materials specified, the time scale, should be furnished to the SBMCs before the contractor mobilizes the site. People should have a knowledge. What is the timeline? What are the details of the contract? What are the materials which are specified? So that the SBMC should have oversight function to ensure that things are done according to specification. There should also be channels of communication between Ceddert, local government education authorities, and the community, especially the SBMCs. They need to be formally established to ensure proper consultation and feedback. Channel of communication between them should be done. The SBMCs and community monitors also should be encouraged and empowered to share input, that's comments, observation, and complaints with the LGAs and Ceddert. There should be a mechanism whereby they interact with each other, report what they have noticed, and then those in charge of implementing those projects also have a feedback from the community, and the community will also have a feedback from those in charge of implementing those projects. Now, we have learned a great deal. What have we learned from the past year of implementing this project? We also have learned a great deal, and one of it is that how about the flow of funds from UBEC and Ceddert for better the conditions of schools in the 3 local government areas. The whole system, what we have learned is that the whole system of awarding contracts and contract execution needs a thorough revision. It should be revised. This one thing that it should be revised so that in future there should be transparency and accountability. It must be the basis of the entire system. At present, the system of contract awards and execution are opaque. They are not transparent. And it does not involve the members of the local community. Members of the local community are not presently involved in giving monitoring of contract execution. This should change, really. Many contracts are awarded without reference to the actual needs of the community. That's why we're talking about community needs assessment. Insofar as the schools are concerned, community members, including SBMC, headmasters, PTAs, are generally not aware of the contract details which we mentioned earlier. What the contracts are intended to achieve or the cost of the work. This is what we have found out so far. They often do not know who the contractors are, so as to be able to have useful interaction with them. They don't know the contractors. In the course of our discussion, we learned that at one point someone came and said he was a contractor. He went to someone selling cement, collected a whole lot of cement, and then went away. Because the person selling the cement took faith, thinking that he was a contractor who was mobilized to site. Now, if members of the community know that, the person who was doing that knows that members of the community do not even know the contractor. So someone who can come and even dupe people who are community members who are engaged in trading activities. It can even bring down the economy of the people engaging of the communities. So they often do not know who the contractors are, so as to be able to have useful interaction with them. This means that if they have to monitor the contract implementation, they are starting at a severe disadvantage, because without adequate information, you cannot access usefully the progress of the work. You don't have information. How do you access? How do you monitor? How do you say that they're doing a good job? You don't have contract information. The connection between UPEC, SUBEP, and local government education authorities and community members are not structured in a way to promote efficient communication. They are not structured in a way to promote efficient communication. The system is a top-down system. It should be bottom-up. For effective project implementation, it should be bottom-up. A bottom-up approach would encourage more effective contract execution, because community members will feel a greater sense of ownership of projects. After all, the projects are for them. Government is voting money for those projects. Education is a right for the citizens, and this is why SUBEP is set up as an agency to ensure that the rights of citizens, the rights of children to good qualitative education is, achieved. And this is the essence of all these SUBEP projects. Now, if members of the community do not have an input, how do you attain that objective? So, a bottom-up approach, which means that members of the community, SBMCs, PTAs, and so on and so forth, would have a say in contract execution, would go a long way towards ensuring that things are done in a different manner for the benefit of the communities. Now, in each community, there are a good number of individuals who are passionately concerned with improving conditions of education in their communities, including ensuring that schools are in good condition with all the necessary facilities. But they are frustrated. These people are frustrated. We have in every local government, there are a lot of people who want to see that things are done. But they are frustrated because of lack of information. They are hampered by ignorance because they don't know their rights and duties vis-a-vis the contracts that are being implemented. Now, if you don't know your rights as to regards to the contract which is being implemented, if you don't have adequate information, definitely no matter how good intention you are, you will certainly be frustrated. In some communities, there are many individuals with a lukewarm attitude. They don't care. I don't care attitude. Whereas we have good ones who are worried about the state of education, there are those who do not care. And those who do not care are those who will connive with the contractors to defraud their own communities in terms of good qualitative projects being implemented. So some are lukewarm to the education of their children, and there are some who also seek to make personal gain. There are those who want to seek to make personal gain in any way they can from the contract execution to the detriment of effective implementation. In most communities, there are people who collude, who connive with contractors in order to be able to, shortchange the community in contract implementation, in terms of maybe procuring of materials, in terms of doing shoddy jobs, in terms of a whole lot of things. We have everybody. So it is important that communities seek to ensure that only committed individuals should be chosen for monitoring work, and others who do not matter, and that others, no matter what their position, whether you are a traditional ruler, a religious ruler, an elder, if you are not interested, you should be kept out. If you are not interested, you should be kept out. There are those who are really interested in seeing to it that things are done, and there are those who are not interested. But if you are not interested, what's your business? In conniving with the contractor to cheat the local community. So serious community members should be made to feel empowered so as not to be intimidated by such individuals. Such individuals may also be powerful. They may end up being intimidated. It's not an easy task, but if things are to be done appropriately, they should be done. It is quite possible, if not easy, to create a community monitoring team to oversee superb interventions and to equip them with the tools of and techniques that they require to do a good job. Because motivation at the community level is there. Whatever lacuna, whatever gap exists can be rectified by intensive education and sensitization. So that we observe that such community monitoring can lead to more efficient contract execution at the community level. Because such activity can have only a limited result in the broader perspective of reducing corruption in the education sector, which is the ultimate objective of MacArthur-funded work. That's because by the time the contract gets to the point of execution at the local level, a great deal of work in the contract design, award, and distribution has been compromised at the higher levels of the system, which is beyond the purview of our project. So there's the need to change a whole lot of ways that things are done. We do not have control over that. So reducing corruption in the education sector, which is very necessary if we are to truly develop, cannot be carried out just at the community level also. We have talked about community level, but it also has to be approached with the entire system in mind. Perhaps a good way to start is to involve communities in the educational planning process right from the inception. So what have been the biggest challenges or risks in this? There are serious security problems we know in Ceddert and some parts of the local government areas, including the risk of kidnapping. But we have no control over this situation. We manage to work in those areas, taking the risk into account. There is also the issue of security in the schools, and the risk that school property is not sufficiently guarded or sufficiently secure. There is also complaint that security guards usually in the schools do not get their salaries in time, and many abandon their work. We can only recommend to government that salaries should be paid on time. So there is the issue of encroachment also on school property by urban construction and farming activities. Individuals sometimes, we know that at the inception of this government, they went ahead demolishing people who are building on school premises, which is very, very unethical and immoral. And people also do farm on school premises. So there's the issue of encroachment by urban construction and farming. Some people go to the extent of clearing and trying to build filling stations on school properties, on school land, which is very, very immoral. So the lack of perimeter walls creates a safety hazard in the school and even encourage such encroachment. Schools with no perimeter fencing should be in schools with no perimeter fencing should be constructed. Local governments should ensure that encroachment does not occur. So this is in sum what we have done, and these are some of the pictures that we do in the course of our monitoring. The picture here, I don't know whether clear enough, shows the front and inside view of the new laboratory construction in 2014 was never utilized. The building is shabbily done. Some of the window glasses already broken. The second picture is the inside of the laboratory. The laboratory should have facilities to be used by students. The control laboratory equipment and tables have not even been carried out. Now, this is early inaugural primary school. The project furniture procurement, plastic chairs for people. Now, the pictures show that plastic chairs are supplied. By a closer look, shows that the furniture is of low quality and cannot last. The closer look. So, how was this covered? What was the specification? If members of the community knew that, they would have stemmed it. Now, this is the local government education authority in Bulbala. These are the rehabilitated blocks. Now, substandard materials were used during construction, especially for doors, windows, floor, and ceiling. As you can see, substandard materials. This is Jamila Memorial Primary School, I think it's in Quebec, if I'm not mistaken. It's poor wall finishing. The floor finishing is poor. Only 4 blocks of classrooms were renovated, as against 9 specified in the contract. So you can see how they will utilize funds where they go. You can see where they go. So thank you. This is what we have done. So,
well done, sir.
That is a wonderful presentation by Professor Ceddert. Members of the High Table, I'm not saying to Ghana, going to hand over to the chairman of the occasion to moderate the question, comment, and observation session.
Thank you very much.
Once again, the big round of applause for the
Thank you very much. I think all well said and done. So stand because my guys. Yes, my guys. So let me just I think the presenter has done a good job of what Ceddert has done in the 3 local governments. And of course, we are all aware that this workshop is to meet all what was done. The next part of this workshop is for comments and discussions. So I think probably we want to start from my right and come left so that we take questions and comments and observations from people. So I think whoever has to start from the people here, who left. Thank you very much. Yes.
Hello, good morning. My one is just an observation, sir. My name is Mahmoud Sani Kaya from the local government and also representing Education Secretary to UNG. Sincerely speaking, based on the report, we are very glad to find out that it is only, or I can say it is only in the local government that we are at least we find we covered 80% of our work was out, or 90% of our work was out being chopped by others. And secondly, this is showing that in the local government actually there is at least good observation or in terms of supervision in those activities. And I am insisting, if possible, that this hotline that our people is always in need, so that they can be reporting the activities of corruption around local government, because they don't have any medium that they can at least say out their words. But by the use of this hotline, our people may be able at least to report back the information they're supposed to report without the intervention of anyone. And finally, this one is for the educationists, the government officials, both in Ceddert, to inform them that we have to develop our mental magnitude. Because if those contractors can do that, whenever they are given a work, they may not be able to show the whole money. Because if it is their own project, if they give other people a project and someone shows the money, they will be back. They're supposed to develop their mental magnitude and reason critically and at least do good work for others so that they can become a humanitarian. Thank you very much, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. All protocol observed from the high table. With due respect, I am Abdullah Sheikh with my name. Chairman of the BMC Government Junior Secondary School Government Motion. It's very unfortunate that on the report of transparency, accountability, and what have you done, the highest maybe comes from very unfortunate to Salaga during 2015 projects. The most unfortunate thing which made to this problem of unprogrammed activities were that lack of involvement, number one, the village head, the district heads, the headmaster, or the principal of the schools are not involved. I am suggesting strongly that from now onwards, any contract which is going to be awarded by either the National Primary Education Commission or the Primary Board, a formula should be, or a letter should be introduced, district head, brigade head, the headmaster, the principal, and if possible, the ID card or the contract agreement. But the contract must be shown to either the principal or the headmaster. After the completion of all projects, there must be another format whereby the principals, the headmaster, the ES, the blade head within the locality will sign before the payment is made. I think this is introduced. It will minimize greatly the fraudulent activities by either the contractors or the education secretary, whatever, from any quarter, to be minimized. This is my observation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, all right.
Good morning all. My name is Abdullah Secretary of the Consultative Forum. In a nutshell, my own is only to thank Ceddert for giving us opportunity and the chance. That is to say that Ceddert know that really will be able to go around the schools and see what and how the conditions of our schools are, what and how the projects are going there. So we can say that really, as we know, our schools are in bad conditions, and really we are going and see how the conditions of schools are, and we have been just like that. We have been recommended by Ceddert, saying that we are doing our best. We are giving our efforts to go and see all these. So therefore, we thank Ceddert for giving us this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, all right, yes.
The chairman of the occasion, the representative of UBEC and SUPEP, all protocols of that. My names are Ephraim Marcos from Sabongari local government. I'm here to present my suggestion before Ceddert. But before then, I would like to appreciate the effort of Ceddert by the good effort they've been putting in our schools. We thank Ceddert for that. My suggestion here is as follows. I would like Ceddert to look and add up a kind of effort in enlightening the rural people pertaining this project in such a way that sometimes you discover that some schools in the villages, the SBMC and the PTS cannot differentiate the qualitative instrument to use in renovation of schools. And even we have problems of them being involved, just the way Baba has said. Honestly, something needs to be done to let them know. Whenever a contractor is being invited you should be able to put down the names of items to be used in renovating the schools in such a way that experts will look toward that and differentiate whether they are good or they are of quality or they are not of quality before approving or accepting his proposal, and it should be taken to the SBMC. A copy should be taken to the SBMC and PTA and even to the school headmasters school, to the principals for proper check-up before the work commences. I think that is what I will add to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm by name Ceddert. Mine is just a suggestion. Many a times we do go out to find out all this, and then at the end of the day, we just leave them inside the dustbin. It is my plea that these millions should not just go silent. Because if they are being dig out, another time, somebody may not involve himself in it. But once you do and go free with it, another person will also do it. But if action is being taken for the other person, I believe another person will not partake in it. And the painful part of it, we continue to accuse the government can't do anything. I'm shocked with this billions of naira hanging, and they're leaving these children at the mercy of destruction. I believe most of the Ceddert that go to our schools saw with their eyes how dangerous our schools look like. Is it simply because we have shipped our children to private schools? We ship all these things to the private schools, we have to be honest. If our children will be in that condition, will we be comfortable? Let's know there is accountability even more here, even hereafter. Let's do our best. I am pleading. Even everybody will keep quiet. Let's say that continue to press on. Until we achieve this. Not only in this aspect. Many a times there are books we will see, they say, bought for sale. We see them in private school. What are they doing there? And they say that the government school are not doing anything. I don't really understand. And even the community themselves, they are not helping issues. All of these mega are part of the community. They are being employed from the community. You abandon your work and you expect the government to pay. We have to be sincere. If proper security is being put on, I believe this thing will not be happening. And we have to close our minds. If your contractor come, if you didn't request anything from that contractor, you will have to go to first day and tell him whatsoever you want to tell him. But in my here, but not in which let's not deceive ourselves. By the time they begin to dig these millions where they are, some of us will be ashamed of ourselves. Now I pray that we will not just leave it like that. We will continue to press on. This is just a stepping stone. Even the issue of feeding. Yes, millions upon millions or billions, I can say. It's good to go around. Monitoring is very important. Not just to give and sit down, enjoy your AC. I never know any idea. I've been at the ID. But I never know what I do. I'm a cabada, but I know a group about the who are we deceiving? Is this simply because these children have nobody to cry to? It is very unfortunate. I pray that from today we will learn.
Thank you very much. This is the next person to proceed by side. Thank you for that. come back there.
Mine just a suggestion. Looking at all the presentation, I think what I observed there is most of the contractor that the contract was issued to, most of them are not licensed. Because maybe they are, they will be easily be traced. They will easily be traced. That is why she said, had action was taken, this thing will not be repeated. So I think if next a contract will be awarded, they should award it to the licensed contractor, so that if anything like that is observed, the contractor will be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Before you
I stand on the existing protocol. The information that was disseminated was very informative and very, very nice. I learned much from it. My own is an appeal. You see, whenever my names are Delali Ali Mara from the local government. I'm the principal of Junior Secondary School. During Tafas. The problem between the administrators and contractors are numerous. Some of these contractors, they are highly connected. We know that we are in the era of politics. Whenever headmaster or principal complain about substandard materials, most of the contractors will now ask, do you know who am I? Your work is at stake. A lot of threat, a lot of intimidation. So, and some of the administrators, we are afraid of their work, of losing their work. So sometimes we keep quiet because we don't know who is who. So my appeal is that through this forum, they can all empower the administrators and let them back up, so that when we are back up, we will be able to have a voice and say something. Thank you very much.
My name is Mike Sadhu. Let me start by saying that education actually is the pillar of any society. The progress of any society lies on quality education. But unfortunately in Nigeria, education is relegated to the background. That is why, if I may say from what the last speaker has mentioned, that some of these contractors are highly placed because everything is politicized in Nigeria. Education itself is politicized. If not because of that, if contracts are awarded, politics should be actually removed out of these contracts awards. Because if a contract is to be awarded, it should be given to people that can actually execute the projects qualitatively. So therefore, I am calling on our government to ensure that this issue of politicizing everything should be reduced to the barest minimum. And I'm also urging all our community members to ensure that the concern of education should be concern of all and sundry. So therefore, we should put all our hands on deck to ensure that when contracts are given, we monitor these contracts to the logical conclusion. And I'm also saying that since these reports that are being presented are resolved from 3 local government areas, we are waiting to also listen to reports And I'm also saying that other states of the Federation should learn from the Kaduna State government to also monitor UPEP and student projects in order to ensure that these projects are qualitatively done in our communities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the effort of Ceddert to see that our children get the best education so far. I am not quite happy looking at it, but particularly to my own from the first, from the project fund, we were given this amount after this 3 and that's very unfortunate. We were unable to utilize some of what was given to us. Mr. Chairman, in your speech, you highlighted some of the reasons that result in improper utilization of these funds, which you mentioned security challenges. Sir, I don't know. This is an upsetting event whereby it's found almost everywhere in Nigeria. And if this happens to be a country that affects us from utilizing our funds, and if it is to continue like that in the next 2 years, does that mean that Kakako local government will continue to be behind in the next 3 years? What will be the fate of our children? I want to suggest something here. If we are being confronted with security challenges, I want to beg that Ceddert should make use of the local security agencies we have. We have the vigilante, we have the civil defense, we have the police and others. So that whenever a contract is awarded to a school in a particular community, I want to believe that that community also have their own local directive to see the security of that area, so that the security in that community should be involved to ensure that these things are well handled, the properties there are well taken care of, rather than denying or refusing them from utilizing their funds in the name of security challenges. And I also want to make mention of some of the things that we face here with regard to.
Please, I want to make the bit clarification. It is not. I don't know that Madam Esther will be able to throw more light on this. It seems there is some misconception about what Ceddert is actually doing. Ours is to ensure that the right things are done by monitoring on the field and then report. And that's what we are doing. You see, so the thing is that from the chart here, you can see more of the money given to you, I don't know, whatever amount, is not utilized for one reason or the other. You see, that's what Baba said there. Contractors have played some games there. You understand? So that is the logic. It's not the case of Ceddert. Ceddert is not to do that. It's to need to have a report. And that's what we are doing here in this workshop. So, I think, Madam Esther, I don't know whether you want to throw in some light. Maybe later. Thank you very much. Yes. Oh, the other point has come. Give it to him. Let him talk.
Sir, I want to stress on the issue of contractors. Sincerely speaking, if you want to help our community, I want to suggest that the contractors, the community should present the contractors to you, or to say that then they say that I'm educated. Then the community, so that once the community, why the contractor knows that?
No, you see, it's not that. That's what I'm trying to explain. It's the same government. I said, I will explain to you later.
Yeah.
And when I say you don't understand,
They said that you don't
yes, it's the same government.
the contractors should apply, the community should present the contractors to the state government.
Okay, I don't know if I can listen for the youth to appoint the contractor. We, ours, the community. Let's talk here. Please, let the mic, bring the people at the mic, please. But I'm sorry, we have to call you to walk in.
Some of the things I would say a lot of comments and questions. I need to hear that.
Please silence. This is important.
I was asking some of these questions in my mind because they were running through my mind. I don't know from the report, it was not indicated if these projects were handed over for use. It means if they were completed or not. So it will now give us a picture of the balance that we're talking about that was able to utilize. If the projects are still on, it means that there are some funds that are yet to be utilized on the project. So that we want to know, sir, if it was identified that they were completed projects and handed over. Because probably there are issues with contractors and some things are still pending. That is one. And then go to again some projects. Are we together?
Yes,
and then I want to also bring to our notice that, like it was indicated in the report, that this project is for 2014, but was executed in 2017. The name of the project or the project year is 2014, but the cash did not come till 2017, and that is why I want to believe that the projects are still on, that some have not completed. I'm not running away from the fact that some funds in this have not been utilized for one reason or the other because of corruption that we are talking about and we are about to work on now. So, but the thing that I feel about that amount is that it's on the high side. So I want to believe that there are some things that are yet to be done and we need to find out those things. Then, if this man that is asking this question was with us from the first meeting we had in Zaria, we said how these funds come. They come from UPE and then the state gives counterpart funds. And these counterpart funds are what delay some of these projects sometimes. So if we want to talk about this, these people are NGOs that are supporting to track what has been done in our schools. And that is why we have this report with us now. So they are not giving us projects, but they are helping us to entrust this thing that they are doing into our hands. And I want to assure us that tomorrow we might not have them around us. They are teaching us how to fish and not giving us the fishing kit. So everything they have taught us, I want to encourage us to take it to heart so that we make good use of it. So whatever you have learned is that whatever you have learned from this organization, for you to go back home and ensure that you utilize the knowledge. So you have been given, sorry, let me just begin to say that some of our community members, like it was identified there also, that some community members do not know about the projects, do not have anything to do with the project. I want to say it is true that they don't know anything, they didn't know anything about the project. I'm using this because a lot of things have been addressed now. With the coming of our factory in the United States, it brought us together with other departments to work as an entity. Because before the coming of MacArthur, I am from Social Mobilization Department, and the other person, people that work on this project are from PPL, physical projects and management. So they work as a department and I work as a department. But we are working with community members. Our community members didn't know what this PPM were doing. And like it was addressed here, that contractors just go to schools and they don't have anything to do with community members. But now, I want to assure you that we have agreed with the board that the next project year that is coming, there's going to be a meeting between the contractors and the community members. So that the community member is going to know who is coming to work in his own community. And we tell the contractors that you're not only going to work, but you're going to work with them. So you're going to put your heads together and work. And because we know that the community members have done a lot of things in their communities, and those things are still standing. Well, those of the government are not there. So we are not agreed that the two are going to put their heads together to work together. So I think it is an achievement for us. Then the bill of quantity that is going to be distributed to us. Before, we don't have any idea of what is coming to us. Like I saw in this place, some of the projects that we have done are low quality. And even the things that we are provided also, we heard also in this place that they are low quality. But now, we have also agreed that for us in Sudan, if anything is coming to you, there's going to be a simplified bill of quantity that will tell you the quantity, the quality of what is coming to you. So that if contractors bring any contrary thing, you have the right to reject. And community members have been empowered. If we have SDMC members in this place, I will not agree if you say that you have not been empowered to monitor projects. Because all the trainings we gave you, we said that you are expected to monitor every project that comes to you. But because of nonchalant attitude, you don't do it. And you tell everybody everywhere that you have not been empowered. All the trainings that we do for SDMCs is in it. It's part of it. We tell you that anything that is coming to your school, you are expected to monitor and see what is happening and ensure that the right thing is done. But you've not been doing it, and you will say that nobody has told you to do it. We've told you to do it. If you don't know, now you have known. Please do it. Whatever comes to you, whatever the government is sending to your school, you have the right to ask who is bringing it. What is this thing? What is it going to be used for? And then, what is the quality of this thing? I am sure that I know also that in the training we had in Zaria with some of you were given a checklist, a sample of a checklist to ensure that this is what is expected and this is what is done. If that is not done, then it is your own fault. It is no longer the government's fault, it is no longer the contractor's fault, because you are going to be establishing a working relationship. And if you establish the working relationship and you are not there, it will now be your problem. And or if after establishing relationships, you now ask contractors to need to give you something out of the contract fund, you are only cheating yourselves and not the government or the contractors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, good to you. Good afternoon, everyone. My first question is to you, Madam from Ceddert. Madam from Ceddert. On our previous meeting, on your presentation, you made mention that when distributing the fund of the project, you distributed equal fund to
equal projects.
Yes. Okay, equal project. Okay, well, if that should be the case, from the first place, the project fund for Sabon was 125 million naira, while Canada received 60 million naira. That is on top of Sabon. How did you do that? First. Second, the monitoring committee of Ceddert, please, my request on the two local government that their fund was like that Sabon, they received 125 million and they are able to utilize 104 million. Please, what was the nature you think they used there so that we can have that nature when we go back, we should know how to avoid happening of this nonsense involved from our local government. The local government, like my colleague said, we receive only 60 million naira.
and we only utilize 29 million. We are not up to the half of that amount. This is shameful. And sir, all the people said that spoke before me, especially from the government part, they were saying there is intimidation and other things. But sir, I don't believe much on that. Because when they have something that have direct dealing with them, they have association and other things, they will start either protest or something else. They all know how to do anything that have direct dealing with them. I think the government will bring something that they will deduct just a 2,000 naira from their salary or whatsoever. They all know how to get a source to back them off on doing that. Why did we do some things in terms of doing project? All the association they don't have anything that can keep them back up to make sure they execute such project in their schools. Madam, my final request, I'm saying this on behalf of the local government. After giving me the answer, what you will do next month, you see the report we produce now. That 125 million given to somebody, I think we'll have to swap and locate it to the government. And give them this time around. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have an observation, and my observation is still on that budget and allocation. And that is to say, if this money are allocated to this local government, and this percentage of projects has been carried out, what is the quality of project that has been done? I think we need to align, because if you say Iwa has collected 90 billion and Kadi have utilized 84 billion, have they utilized that 84 billion to what is meant to be achieved? Because if we give this report in this form, we won't be proud that they have collected this money and they have utilized the money given to them. Some of them will be happy they have collected the money and they have utilized. But have they done what is expected of them to do with this one? Because if we say that to ourselves, then people will be, all this money not being used or achieved will also give you opportunity to know that the money they have been given or utilized has done what is expected of them or not. I don't think that is within the Ceddert condition, but I think that should also be given. Then again, there should be emphasis on the community. Like where I am from Ceddert, I'm a Ceddert fellow and I went to some places. In as much as we are emphasizing on the contractor, there is need for us to also talk to the community. The community must be responsible. In some communities that work, I don't want to mention, there is need for the community to wake up. And this even if it means, and now coordination or suggestion, I want to say that the community should be asked to give some little incentive that will make them committed to government projects. They should give some little incentive that will make them committed to projects that will come to them in form of little tax or something that will allow them to at least do something to protect the project taken to their communities. Thank you.
I just want a quick response.
Yes.
From what we have done, I can see that some of the projects that we listed, I know that they are sharply done. And once we say they are sharply done, it means the funds were not utilized for what they were supposed to be utilized. In the main report, just giving an appraised version. There's so much that you can see that contractors have not procured what they are supposed to procure. Quality materials have not been procured. It's the big shortcuts and the pocketed some of the money. So that on that aspect, if we had enough time, there are some like if you look at the Jamila primary school, 9 blocks were supposed to be constructed, but only 4. So what happened to the money? So, in the main report, there are a whole lot of these points. Apart from the funds
Yes, okay. Anybody here? Yes, maybe I should allow the representative of or Marcus. Oh, sorry, after.
Thank you. Mine is this. From the first heard and see, the pictures clearly shows that the projects are in bad shape. This means that we should not focus on the figures. We should rather look at the conditions these projects are in. So it means that money has been allocated to these local governments, yet what has been done is still in a bad shape. What do we do about it? Thank you.
Yes, the next person.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erika. I work for Connected Development, also known as Colin Many. We are also tracking the same project. We track our projects in Sudan, Kajuru, and Japan. So, one thing, when I checked through the reports, I want to ask the question. So, we have clarified all these issues of percentage of money being spent and not being spent. So, we want to know, are these projects 100% completed? If they are not 100% completed, so we shouldn't call and emphasize on what is spent or not being spent. And another issue is, as community members, we need to change our conscience and start asking questions. Because I think the whole essence of this tracking is for Ceddert to hand over these to community people so we can actually take over the initiative and track this project ourselves. No matter which project, be it education, road, or the like. So I would want the community members to know that if you notice something that is going on and it's wrong, you can always report these issues to council there, or you report to Ceddert, which and they're going to take it up. Because we had instances of incompletion of projects, use of poor quality materials, and we took it up and it was resolved. So I think we should shift from this issue of utilization of money and now check how complete are these projects. And also he was talking about Ceddert being allocated a lot of money and lesser money than South Bay. I think the evidence might want to verify issues here. There's what they call this assessment. It's the this assessment that informs the money that is being given to these people. It's when you submit to this assessment, I think we should understand the whole process before we start allocating for things that are not possible. Because I have to tell you, they are not going to give that money to the government. Yes, this assessment, it's that this assessment that informs when you get in your community. Also, I think I'll just say probably suspect I'll add more.
On the needs assessment, what I would like to inform you that we can ourselves are not involved. You assess their needs from the offices. That's why we are saying that the community should be involved in the needs assessment. If the communities have been involved, probably the money might have been higher. So top-bottom approach is what is causing the problem here. If you involve the community, they know what they want. They know their needs. And as such, they can, if they are engaged in decision making as well, which projects to do, that will have made a difference, really.
You are listening to what they are saying. Thank you very much. Yes. One from Martha.
Thank you. I'm not asking government for running an open government, of which everybody can know in our community what is happening. We sensitize the community in Sanga, Kaduna South. They later come to my bosses today to come into here. And I want to tell you right here, what's normally doing in the place as Sebastian project is, when the project has been given, we have meeting with the community, we sensitize them, the money allocated to, even if we invite the contractor to be at a community meeting, the event was there, and even the chairman of the land government was there, we invite all the stakeholders. been given. Some of the project has been given, even some have to share the money with people in the community, but when the action is taken, the bill the person was given to us. The name, the roofing, and everything was supposed to use was written in the bill of quantities, on which when we bring out the bill of quantity and tell the contractor, this is what we're supposed to be used. You have to change it. He come down to us and change it, and that is how we were able to achieve some of our projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think, all right. Yes.
Good afternoon. Permit me to stand on the existing protocols. I have a question. Bond that are supposed to be given 2014 for the projects that have been conducted were not given at that particular time. They were given in 2017. From where the fund is coming from, that this fund were not given at that particular time. Another question I have for Madam is that the contractors that were being given this project are introduced to the SBMCs, to these various schools, that the project that have been conducted, if they are not being introduced, then how do you expect them to monitor such projects? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's about the SBMCs. I have to be frank and sincere here. Some of the SBMCs that we visited are disappointed. They collected money and they spent it. Not on the school, but on their families. Yeah. It's unfortunate. If we can be accusing politicians of being corrupt, we have no reason at all to collect money mainly for our communities, and we spend the money for our families. It's wrong, and we have to say it here. We have visited some of the SBMCs and some of the schools that we visited. They received money up to 400,000. There was a school we visited. They were giving money to buy chairs for students, Prof. Remember. The whole school don't have one single seat. And we asked them, where are the books? If the seats, maybe they are broken, we should see evidence of broken seats. We heard that the broken seats or chairs were taken by the community to go and use it for firewood. And the SBMCs are there looking at them. So if we want to, what do you call it? Say the politicians or Spade or whatever are not doing what they're supposed to do, we have to look inward also. Because these schools are made for us. And we have the responsibility of protecting this school. Somebody from somewhere will come and give you money to repair or do something for your school, and then you spend the money. And then you turn and accuse a politician of stealing your money. It's not proper. We have to say it here. Number two, we have to understand that the position of Ceddert is not to fight for you. It's to show you how to fight for yourself. Because Ceddert will not be here forever. Do you understand? And what Smith is doing now is to open people's eyes, the communities, to understand that every year money is allocated for either building or renovation of schools. So it's now left for communities to go to Subek and collect this money and repair their schools. Whether you do that based on need assessment or you allow Subek to decide what they will do for your community, that's left for you. Do you understand? So that's the small...
Mine is in addition to what my colleague said about SBMC. And I want to throw a challenge to Madam Esther. Many majority of the schools don't even know the meaning of what SBMC is all about. Their thinking is that SBMC is that intervention from World Bank that will be given to principal and other teachers for their own personal use. That's their definition of SBMC. They don't even know that SBMC is to be part of this monitoring work. But I think we need to put more effort in enlightening the PT and other people. If I may suggest, and if it will be, I don't know, in your procedure, I think this work should be given to a credible community organization. A credible community organization, if they like, they should work with SBMC, but they have to work with them. If you have a credible community organization that has the people of that community in their hearts, then they will be able to do this monitoring and other things. But they are thinking of SBMC is now over 800,000 and 400,000. That's they are thinking of SBMC. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
On protocol to me, I also want to share alongside my colleagues who spoke on the importance of SBMC as far as the implementation of this monitoring and evaluation is concerned. I also want to, my question also goes to Madam Esther. It seems it's important here. I really want to know if there is any mechanism of check and balances with regards to the establishment of the SBMCs. And if there is one in place, there is need for it to be reactivated. Because all what we are saying concerning the shortcomings and lukewarm attitude of the SBMCs has to do with the inability of the super per se to checkmate some of their excesses. They are human beings and they are also Nigerians. What differentiates maybe the white men we so much look up to? It is not because they are not human beings, they are human beings like us. They have these excesses to steal from the treasury, but there are institutions that checkmate such excesses. So please, if there is one, should be reactivated. If there is no one in place, please we should establish that. Thank you.
Yes, a level of misunderstanding of what the SBMC is and what reality is. Some are mistaking the fact that the money comes to the SBMC. Which money? All the projects is now designed by the SBMC. No. The SBMC is a formal organization within the school and it's comprised of about 17 members which were spelled out. They are, in fact, how they are going to be even engaged is spelled out in the model community of the management of basic education. And these monies that these projects come directly from Sudan or UBEC. These are money assessed by state government under the Universal Basic Education Conditional Grant, which means the state government has to open an account and the condition is that they have to send a plan, and when they send this plan, this money goes to into that account and they have to put 15% of whatever has been given to them by the federal government. This is a conditional grant. And when they get this money, it is there, they will plan. Already that this plan on down, and they start allocating to respective local governments based on certain criteria laid down by the student. And when this money comes, they comes in a form of targeted project. And those are the projects that Ceddert has monitored. Construction of schools, construction of classroom, renovation of classroom, construction of toilets, procurement of furniture, and what have you, as the name implies. And each is tagged with a particular cost. And these are the projects that we have monitored. We find them wanting. So if people are going to speak, they should speak of this. And the lacuna here is that where there's another money that goes directly to the school. That doesn't have to do with the various student money. That the self-help project money that come in the form of 200, 300, 400. And these are the money that the XDMC officials are guilty of. But then it's a vicious cycle. Yes, I'm telling you this. They see from the top what is happening and they recover. In fact, we are from the system of our sea. When this money comes, even before the money comes, there is a kind of, when you see the lesson, you understand. The Supreme will organize a kind of workshop, what they call. This money is going to be disposed to the respective local government, education secretary. That's a technique for the Supreme. The education secretary will have to do that. Then they go to their own level. At their own level, they call the respective schools, the beneficiary school. I call. That's a technique for me. Whether I will do the badges for school, or I will do. They will create an avenue in which they also will take their own technique. And the headmaster knew. So when they go back to the school, the headmaster will also create an avenue for himself. And the SDC chairman has seen the headmaster creating an avenue for himself. He will also create the avenue. So it's a vicious cycle. How things need to.
That is a very nice point. Thank you very much. Please, we want more ladies to speak, because if not,
because I happen to be on one of the teams, and the teams monitoring the project. And I think the essence, my thinking of the essence of doing is that in the end, we get a very good result. Okay, in ensuring that what is given out to be done is what is actually done. Now we have found out in some places, some projects, some items of the project to be executed were not done at all. What is going to happen to some of these countries? Because this is already known. They are there on the place and it was not there. The presenter gave an example. 9 classrooms were being done to some of them. They gave village and so on. The ones that were done were assessed the quality. This order about 5 and they were not done. What will happen to some of them? Because this is essence, the whole essence of the monitoring about the quality to ensure that what is given is given. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yes, please, just
let me start from this very last one. I'm happy that you have said this. 2014 project. Something happened in Kaduna State when this government came into place. When they came, they allocated emergency projects. And before the emergency projects, this 2014 project action plan has been sent to UBEC. And in these emergency projects, some were allocated to places where this action plan has been sent to UBEC. So some of these projects were relocated to other sites. I think that is what we need to clarify again to work on this balance that we have. So please clarify that we get the projects for you, and especially these ones that you said that nothing has been done at all. It's either they have issues with contractors which has not been resolved, or the project was relocated to another place. So we need to find out what happened. But I'm not too comfortable with this amount. I am not at all. I don't agree that only in 3 local governments that Sudan will just sideline 58 million. It's too much. So I know that something is wrong somewhere, which we need to clarify. Then the issue of, I will start from the bottom way up. The issue of SBS is mismanaging funds. The second to the last speaker, I want to say that we are tracking all funds, whether you pay funds or any fund that is sent to school. So it is not out of place that we discuss that in this meeting. We are trying to change our attitudes, to change our behaviors, and to change what we do that is not right. That is why we are discussing all these things in this place. Community members, ethnic members are guilty also. As much as the government are guilty, every other person at the bottom is also guilty. So we're trying to make things right. We know that things were wrong. That is the reason why we came to this place to discuss these things here. And the reason is for us to work on ourselves first. And I want to plead with us that let it start with me. Let it start with you, not with the government. Because we also have our own parts to play. Then the issue of check and balance for SDMCs. Our SDMCs in all the local governments, if we have some of them that are here, we have social mobilization officers at local government level. And each social mobilization officer is controlling 10 schools to ensure that every SDMC is functional. So if a lot of things are wrong, I said it the other time we came that a lot of these SDMCs that we have around, some of them are not trained. Why? Because those that we are trained are either trained or relocated from their areas where we were trained. So a lot of them that are in now needs training. They need mentoring and monitoring of their activities. And I said it last time that we have been planning and praying that resources will come. We are sending a lot of requests from people to help us, because for us as well, we are handicapped, we don't have resources to visit these people. And another mechanism that we have in place to monitor what they do is that we have a template. If I knew we were going to discuss this, I would have come with a template to see it. We monitor every SDMC activity. But because of the financial challenges that we have, you see that a lot of them are not being monitored. Even this one that we send, we give them 10 schools. There's nothing that is given to them to visit the schools. So when they visit once, they go back and relax because there's no incentive, no any allowance for it. And it's the reason why we have a lot of these challenges that we have around. Then somebody asked if contractors were introduced. I said it before that it was not the practice. That we have never done it before. That we were sending in contracts, we invite contractors to introduce to community members. We've not done that, but we are praying that we do it, and we have agreed, like I said, that it's going to commence from now. Then distribution of projects. I remembered I said if the number of projects is given to community state, that the number is distributed evenly, not the finances. I hope you understand this. The finance is depending on the type of project that is executed in that place. If it is renovation, you don't expect it to be as much as that of new construction. So it depends on the type of construction. That's why you see that the finances are not the same. So it cannot be the same depending on the needs of the community and the type of project. So what projects are evenly distributed to local government. If we're giving Sabogari 6, we're giving Kagako 6. But what are we executing in Sabogari is the question, and what are we executing in Kagako? So, and the last one, the first one says, why is 2014 project executed in 2017? It's because of cash value. It's just the name, but the money did not come. So whose money are we going to use? We do it when the money comes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you. I think that call brings us to the end of the whole thing. I don't know if that will be. Thank you very much. So please, I think we have come to the end of the now calling you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will call on.
Thank you very much.
One of Professor Ricardo of Ceddert to give closing remarks for this workshop. Professor Ricardo. Please get ready after the closing remarks, take prayers, and then lunch is ready.
I told the director of Ceddert to come to
No, the director will be here.
We say we conduct problem-oriented and policy-related scientific research on the processes of community and national development. Part of what we do is collect data.
Silence! Audience, please.
Part of what we do is to collect data and use the data to train members of our own community to fight for their own rights. Nobody will fight for you. Societies that have developed, just look at their history. People, like you said, people didn't fold their arms. They call their leaders to account. If you call your leaders to account, if they know that you will ask questions, they will sit up. But if you adopt nonchalant attitude, to it, you will not develop. They will just steal your money and sit down, and you can't do anything. It's not going to be easy, but we have no option but stand up to really demand for our own rights. This attitude in northern Nigeria in particular, government money does not concern them, it's their money. It is your own money. It is your own money. Why do you allow officials to steal your money and leave you in poverty? Look at all the indices you can think of. Northern Nigeria, all the northern states are really behind. Because we don't care. We allow leaders to get out with murder. But societies that stood up and insisted that leaders do the right thing, have always progressed. I could see when Professor Mahmoud was presented at this moment. The very moment we go to project execution and people saw how much was spent and how much was left, this room became rowdy. People were shocked. Compare the amount of money spent and the pictures we saw. There is no correlation whatsoever. Something must be wrong. You get it? And so part of this training is for you to learn. You get to participate. And I'm very happy the super representative said it. You should be part of it. You don't fold your arms. And I heard the principal. The principal said, if you challenge them, they will use their connection with society, to get you sacked or transferred. But it's because they work in isolation. You see, if the whole community say this contractor is not doing his job, there's nothing the governor or the commissioner will do. Of course, you will not be isolated. That is why it has to be community oriented. But I will also advise you, members of the various community, to get the Public Procurement Act. You get it? If you understand the Public Procurement Act, many of these characters, they are wanting your money, you will be scared because they will go to jail. The act is very strict. To even award contract, there are processes. You have to know those things now. If you know the processes, you want to ask whether those processes are respected or not. That way, the best will emerge. As I said, it is difficult, but it's not difficult if you stand firm. Recently, you heard that the federal government reduced the cost of examination. For years, they have been increasing examination fees. For years. But for the first time, we had a leader who said, let's fight corruption. He appointed a board to say, please, when you go, make sure that you fight corruption. We took him seriously. We took the minister seriously. We said, okay, we'll fight corruption and see whether they will do the kind of things you said, whether they will come to us and tell us to stop, not to do what we said we would do. We started examining the contract they've been given. I can tell you, all the top officials of NECO are in EFCC now. I can tell you, because of that. We also found out that they were given contract, the unit cost of which is, for example, 95 naira. When we examine the contract, you realize that we can give it at 25 naira. 95 to 25 naira. And we gave it at 25 naira. The contractors we gave the contract are following me and thanking me for giving them the job. They made profit. We didn't ask anybody to give us a kobo. We just went through the act, the Public Procurement Act. We did our market survey. That's what you do. If contractor comes and says this window costs 1 million naira, go to the market. Don't fold your arms. Go to the Igbo man selling it. Go to the Hausa man selling it. Go to the Yoruba man selling the same thing. Ask him, how much is this? It's not difficult. We did our market survey. Go to the printers. How much will it cost you to print this quantity for us? The highest we got was 25 naira. But what they were giving is 95 naira. per unit. And that is why examination fee keeps on going up. And then we started cutting costs. Let me tell you also, since the inception of NECO, they never made profits. By the time we finished the last exams, we've paid everybody, I'm telling you, everybody, every contractor, every supervisor, every driver, everybody we pay. And we raised 2.5 billion naira in our account. Before then, they will be in the red. And if we collect all our debts of state government, we have 4.5 billion naira. We went to the minister and said, we are not revenue generating agency. We should raise enough money to pay our staff, to pay those who work for us. We are not here to be raising money for government. Parents are poor. Pass on this profit to them. The minister said, I said, you are also doing your job. You are giving us the encouragement, the support to continue doing it. Without the support from you, and without the support you receive, Mr. President, it would not have been possible. This thing has been going on for long. You would have called me to say, how was it? And so on and so forth. But you didn't do that. You encouraged, you said, do the right thing. You get it. Now pass on this thing to our students, our children. And they met with the Federal Executive Council and took the decision. Everybody is happy. If you continue, maybe it will come down. That is if the cost of labor does not go up. So it requires just determination. Just determination. The communities are yours. The schools are yours. Go. Why do you fold your arms and allow some few people to destroy your schools? Our job is to do research. To do research and tell you what is happening. After telling you what is happening, we'll tell you what to do also to protect your right. You get it? So you have to stand up to support the principals in the school. I know the system is weak. Pressure can be brought to bear on them. But if you, the community leaders, are organized, you can get so many things done. You can support them to change it. After all, I am going to talk about 2 minutes. What kind of mentality is this? What kind of decision is this? You leave the public school where government invests a lot of money. Your own money, they invest in that school. The money is stolen. You leave that school, you go to a private school and start paying, high fees. What is the mentality can why don't you fight for your own and make sure that your children go to those schools and you don't pay as much as you pay in the private school? You go to a village school, you see a ramshackle private school, people send their kids there. They pay 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. Government has invested so much money in the private school, in the public school. You allow contractors and some corrupt officials to steal the money. You see, you don't do anything and you go and pay 10,000 in the private school. You people should wake up. It is the community. The schools belong to you because it was used, government money was used to build it. The teachers are paid from your own taxes. When you receive your pay slip, don't you see tax there? But the share can be my forever. So why do you allow them to steal it? So you wake up, you should stand up. Thank you.
My life was the closing prayer.
In Jesus' name, the everlasting Father, the rock of ages, we bless your holy name, we worship you, we give you praise because you are good for our praise. We thank you because you have been with us right from the beginning to the end of this unit. Baba, help us what we have learned here that we should put it into practice. Baba, all that we are guilty of, Father, forgive us. Have mercy on us. As we leave this place, will you go with us? Baba, grant us chosen mercy. Baba, thank you because you have got us to do more than what our heart can imagine. For in Jesus' name we pray.
Thank you very much. Let's have a so please, we're going to bring out before the
Don't get them.
Sounds very awesome.
abincin ba ne?